So Stephen Burke, you are well known, probably other than me, you're the most well-known member of our community, since you for 35 or 36 weeks in a row, you've had to come on and talk about the markets, and you've done it with intelligence and aplomb and all the rest. So we're all interested to hear your reflections and predictions. Just please introduce yourself for those who don't know you.
Well, thanks, Mark. I'm the managing partner of ARS Investment Partners. We're a New York-based asset manager that provides high conviction public equities and long-short strategies with a long-short strategy with a focus on TMT. I'm also an investor and chairman of the board of a tech company that's AI in the travel business. We work with commercial travel, corporate travel, and providing AI, which is becoming increasingly important given the challenges of that industry. So as a venture investor in that area, I can appreciate the challenges both in the public and private space. So that's our background.
And we have an alumni heritage, so just talk about your pedigree.
Well, unlike most who were exceptional in college, I was less so, but I went to Gettysburg College, and they're not bragging about me being a student, and I'm not necessarily bragging about being a student there, although I love the experience.
Fair enough. And how you connected originally to 361?
Through Trevor Monder. We're partially owned by a family office out of Canada that Trevor is our partner up there, and he's a regular on the 361 community.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's look back on 2020.
Before we get there, Mark, it might be one of the few people in the system that's actually had the pleasure of having dinner with both your parents at the Granville Inn.
Yes, they still speak of you. Stephen.
Thoroughly enjoyed the time with them. Great parents.
Thank you. That was like part of the last
one of our last trips.
Meetings, yeah. So let's I guess you've looked back to part of 2020 with that dinner, but maybe one of your best or worst decisions, or how do you reflect on 2020?
Well, right after we were in Ohio, we went to Florida. Actually, I went to Florida, you didn't go. And we had meetings and with several of the families in the 361 network, and one after the other, they were shutting the door down the day after. And I called our office and said, we're closing down. And it was way before, probably a week and a half to 2 weeks before the federal agencies started shutting down. So looking back, I was lucky because of the cancellations and made a decision to get our people out and be safe. And it allowed us to transition a little bit more smoothly. So I think that was the best decision. The worst decision I made was selling Tesla in January. After I bought it in December, it had a 40% move. The second best decision I made was buying it back a week later after I realized it was a stupid thing to sell. So I got lucky twice, put it that way.
Interesting. So looking ahead, as you are wont to do, so how do you see 2021?
I think it's going to be a lot like the last several years, with a lot of volatility, but skewing positively on the upside. As I think the economy is healing. I think people are still underestimating the amount of money that's been thrown at the problem, both from a fiscal and monetary perspective, and the lag effect that has. So I think generally we're cautiously optimistic and think it's a time to be opportunistic with a narrower set of opportunities as we move ahead.
And so outside of investing, we focus on philanthropic interests. We describe yours and what your plans are in 2021.
Well, I've always had an interest in things with kids. And back at Dreyfus, I helped create the Dreyfus CF Foundation that we raised several $1 million for over the years. So that one was one that's near and dear to me because several of my friends were impacted by that for their kids. But since I joined ARS, we've moved into another area which we manage a lot of money for special needs families. And the hardships that they go through is really underestimated unless you know somebody that's done it, not just for the poor kids that are going through their either physical or mental or issues that they have or emotional issues that they have, but for the whole family, the brothers and sisters and the parents. There's a lot of worry about how that's going to be managed. And we're proud to manage money. About almost more than 10% of our assets are helping special needs families, and it's an area we'd like to get bigger. And 1 in 10 families in the US have special needs issues. So it's not a small segment, and it's an area that we'd love to help people in the system where we can.
Great. And then, but how do we help you, Stephen Burke, ARS? What are your asks?
Well, as I mentioned back at the Florida conference in January, part of my goal is to remind people that the public markets are still open and not just for passive investing. I actually think passive is going to be more challenged next year than it was this year going forward. But we're really looking for families to help them with high conviction investments that are going to give them thematic exposures that they want to be normally getting and getting exposure to in the weightings that they should. And we think it's a very good complement to the passive area. And I think it's an area that people need to start moving more money to. I think the next couple of years are going to be challenging, but positive in the markets, but not evenly shared in the benefits. So that would be the other one. And where there are people who special needs families that we can help, we'd love introductions to. And we're working with a fintech company that we're trying to finalize a relationship with that has some services that will not only help special needs families, but the elderly, which is another area that we're focused on.
And then one word that you would associate with 2021.
From an investment perspective, it would be digitalization. And from a social perspective, it would be hope and healing. I think healing is going to be one of the keys for how we come together to deal with the magnitude of problems that we have. Not only the physical healing from the COVID, but the really the divides that we have need to be healed. And we have to start with dialing down the rhetoric and really focusing on what's best for everyone, not what's best for the few.
I knew you'd come through with some good thoughts, so thank you for that. I thought you were going to say transformation.
Well, the digital transformation is part of it, but I think people are going to be surprised how the rate of change continues to accelerate, and I think that's going to be a big eye opener for people. It's going to make it harder for investors to manage their allocations too. I think it's going to really put some challenges on us.